In this video, I'm going to go over the KutaSoftware free worksheet under the Infinite Geometry tab. If you look in the section, you can find this Review of Equations worksheet within Review of Algebra. I'm going to split the Review of Equations worksheet up into 3 separate videos. Our directions are to solve each equation. Number 1, 3n plus 4n equals negative 14. In order to solve for this equation, we need to solve for what the value of n is equal to. 3n and 4n are like terms, so we can combine them together. 3n plus 4n is going to give us 7n, and that's going to be equal to negative 14. Now, in order to solve for n, we have to isolate it. What we're going to do is divide both sides by 7. 7 divided by 7 is 1, and we know that 1 times n is just n. So we have n on the left-hand side of our equation, and that's equal to negative 14 divided by 7, which a negative divided by a positive is a negative, and 14 divided by 7 is 2. So n is equal to negative 2. So negative 2 is the solution for number 1. Moving on to number 2, in order to solve this equation, we need to isolate the m. I'm going to start by combining like terms. We'll have 9 on the left, and that's going to be equal to negative 7m, and I'm going to combine 1 minus 6. 1 minus 6, you can think of it as 1 minus 6, or you can think of it as 1 plus negative 6. Either way is correct. 1 minus 6 is negative 5. Now I want to isolate this m, so I'm going to move the negative 5 to the other side of the equation. I'm going to do that by adding 5. 9 plus 5 is going to give me 14 on the left-hand side, and I'll be left with negative 7m plus 0, since negative 5 plus 5 is 0. So in order to move a value to the other side of the equation, you're just going to add the opposite sign. So if this is a positive 5, we would subtract 5. But since this is a negative 5, we're adding 5. And now, all we have left to do is divide by negative 7. 14 divided by negative 7 is negative 2, and that's going to be equal to negative 7 divided by negative 7, which is 1, and 1 times m is m. So negative 2 is the solution for number 2. In number 3, I'm going to start by combining the like terms. I'm going to combine 5r and 3r together. So we're going to have negative 24 equals 5r plus 3r, which is 8r. In order to solve, we need to isolate the variable r. So we're going to divide both sides by 8, and 8 divided by 8 is 1, so the 8's will cancel out and we'll be left with r on the right-hand side. Negative 24 divided by 8, 8 goes into 24 3 times, and a negative divided by a positive is a negative, so we're going to have negative 3 equal to r. Number 4, we're solving for x. We're going to combine the like terms, so negative 6x minus 6x is going to give us a negative 12x. And that's equal to 12. In order to isolate the x, we're dividing by negative 12. We're going to be left with x on the left-hand side, and 12 divided by negative 12 is negative 1. So for number 4, x is equal to negative 1. In number 5, we're going to need to use the distributive property and distribute the 6 to the 2 and the 6 to the 8n with subtraction in between. So we're going to have negative 36 on the left-hand side, and we're going to do 6 times 2 minus 6 times 8n. Working out the math, we'll have negative 36 on the left, and that's equal to 6 times 2, which is 12, minus 6 times 8n, which is 48n. Remember, I want to isolate this n, and in order to do that, I need to isolate the term that contains the n. So I'm going to move the 12 to the other side, so I'm going to subtract 12 from both sides, and I'm going to get the negative 48, since negative 36 minus 12 is equal to negative 48. That's going to be equal to a negative 48n. All I have left to do is divide by negative 48, and I'll get that a positive 1 is equal to n, since negative divided by negative is a positive, and 48 divided by 48 is 1. So 1 is the solution for number 5. And before we go on to number 6, I just want to go over one more time what the solution means. We got in number 5 that 1 is equal to n. That means we can take that value 1 and plug it back into the equation for n, and the equation will be true. That means negative 36 is going to equal 6 times 2 minus 8 times 1. So I'm going to plug 1 in for n, and let's work out the math. So we have 6 times 2 minus 8 times 1, which is 8. So that's going to give us 6 times 2 minus 8 is negative 6. And 6 times negative 6 is indeed to negative 36. And that was what we were looking for. So negative 36 is equal to negative 36. So when we double checked, when n is equal to 1, our solution is true. In number 6, again, we're going to have to distribute. This time, we're going to distribute a 5. So we have negative 6 plus 5 times negative 1 minus 5 times b. So 5b is equal to 19. I'm going to work out the math, so we'll have negative 6 plus 5 times negative 1 is negative 5 minus 5b, and that's equal to 19. Now I'm going to combine my like terms, which are the negative 6 and negative 5. Negative 6 plus negative 5 is going to give me negative 11, and then we have minus 5b, and that's equal to 19. My next step, I want to isolate the b, so I'm going to have to get the term that contains b all by itself, which is that negative 5b. So when I add 11 to both sides, my 11s will cancel out. I'll be left with negative 5b, and that's equal to 11 plus 19, or 19 plus 11, which is 30. Now in order to isolate the b, I divide by negative 5. So for my final answer, b is equal to 30 divided by negative 5, which is negative 6. In number 7, I have negative 14 equals negative, or the opposite, of negative 2x plus 2. This negative on the outside we can think of as negative 1. So I'm going to rewrite this as negative 14 equals negative 1 times negative 2x plus 2. So what we're going to have to do is distribute that negative 1. And remember, whenever you multiply negative 1 to a number, it's basically switching the sign. So we're going to have negative 14 on the left, and that's going to be equal to negative 1 times negative 2x plus negative 1 times 2. So negative 14 equals, now you're going to see the sign switch. Negative 1 times negative 2x is going to be a positive 2x, and negative 1 times 2 is going to be a negative 2. The negative 2x became positive, and the 2 became negative. Now, I'm going to add 2 to both sides, and that'll isolate the 2x. So negative 14 plus 2 is negative 12, and that's equal to 2x. And when I divide by 2 on both sides, I get that negative 6, since negative 12 divided by 2 is equal to negative 6, and negative 6 is equal to x. So my solution in number 7 is negative 6. In number 8, I'm going to distribute the 7, and I'm also going to subtract a 2 at the start. If I wanted to, I could distribute the 7, then combine like terms, and then subtract the whole number, but instead, I'm going to subtract the whole number, distribute, and subtract some more. I'm just showing you that there are multiple ways to solve an equation, so feel free to do what is most comfortable for you. 51 minus 2 is going to give me 49. That's going to be equal to 7 times negative 1 plus 7 times 2v. So 49 is going to be equal to 7 times negative 1, which is negative 7, plus 7 times 2v, which is 14v. Now I'm going to add 7 to both sides in order to get that 14v by itself. 49 plus 7 is 56, and that's going to be equal to a positive 14v. All I have left to do is divide by 14. 14 goes into 56 evenly, and it goes in 4 times. So we get that 4 is equal to v. So 4 is the solution in number 8. In number 9, we're going to have to distribute twice. 7 gets multiplied to 1, and it gets multiplied to 5n with addition in between. Then 6 gets multiplied to 1, and 6 gets multiplied to 4n with addition in between as well. I'm going to do the math in my head, but feel free to write out each step. So I have 7 times 1, which is 7, plus 7 times 5n, which is 35n, plus 6 times 1, which is 6, plus 6 times 4n, which is 24n. And that is all equal to 13. Now I'm going to combine like terms. I have a 7 and a 6 that I can combine, and I also have a 35n and a 24n. Starting with the 7 and the 6, 7 plus 6 is going to give me 13. 35n plus 24n is going to give me 59n. And that is all equal to 13. Now I'm going to subtract 13 from both sides in order to isolate that 59n. So I'm going to have 59n is equal to 13 minus 13, which is 0. All I have to do is divide by 59, but we know that 0 divided by any number is 0. So n is equal to 0, and that's our solution in number 9. Lastly, in this video, I'm going to do number 10. But before I do this problem, if you found this video helpful, go ahead and click the like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that you're updated when I come out with new videos. Now on to number 10. Number 10, again, we have distribution. We have to distribute the negative 6, and we have to distribute the 6. In the first distribution, we have subtraction in between the terms, and in the second, we have addition. So rewriting 73, that's going to be equal to negative 6 times k, which is negative 6k, minus negative 6 times 7, which is negative 42. But remember that when we subtract a negative, it's the same as adding a positive, so we can say plus a positive 42. Then we're adding 6 times k, which is 6k, and then 6 times 5, which is 30. 73 equals, combining the like terms, negative 6k can be combined with 6k, and 42 can be combined with 30. Negative 6k plus 6k is 0. 42 plus 30 is going to give us 72. We have no variable, and 73 does not equal 72, so for number 10, we have no solution. So no solution is the answer to number 10. If you have any questions or are confused on any of the problems and need clarification, please feel free to comment below and I'll respond as soon as I can. Join me in the next video where we'll continue on with the review of equations worksheet.